What's up? It is Saturday, beautiful day outside. So today I'm gonna change my fuel pump. Like I said in the last video, I tried to actually move my car without turning it on. I tried to just put it in neutral, move it out. It was not working. So I had to start it, and of course gas started leaking out of that and kind of spilled a little bit, but no big deal. So right now, I have the black car out of the way. I have this car in the garage, somewhat in the center, so I can jack it up. I'm gonna do that right now, and then I'm gonna explain the process and we're gonna get it done. Hopefully this does not take forever like the fuel pump did. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to disconnect the fuel pump or fuel relay fuse. I've got to unscrew that, and it's going to be fuse number 11, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. And then I'm going to disconnect the battery, again, just to be on the safe side, but that's what I'm going to do right now. Disconnect the number 11 fuse and disconnect the battery. Okay, so the battery is disconnected, as well as the number 11 fuse, which goes to fuel pumps, fuel relay, that kind of thing. So I was going to try and keep this under here just because it makes me feel better having that much more support, but my fuel pump and stuff is right here, so I'm going to have to take it out. But I have a jack stand back there. I have a jack stand up front, so it should be pretty good. I was also gonna show you it again, but you can't really see it. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna take out my fuel filter and put it to the side, and then that's gonna give me access to my fuel pump. So I'm not gonna show you guys how to take out the fuel filter. I've already had a video on that. So we're gonna do that first and then get to the fuel pump. I'm about to take my fuel filter off. Here's the bad part that I cannot really do anything about unless I were to just take the gas out of the car. This tank is full, and I did not expect this to happen, obviously, or I wouldn't have filled up my tank, but we're just gonna see what happens. You know what I need to do before I even do this? I need to get something to plug it. That would be really smart. All right, I got the fuel line off. So as you get, or the fuel filter off, as you can see, just the fuel that's in the fuel filter is coming out right now. Yeah, you can kind of see that. Wasn't as bad as I thought, but that thing was on there, so I evidently put it on there right the first time. Okay, so I have the fuel filter out, and that's gonna give me access to work on the fuel pump. I'm just gonna kind of take a look at it. Actually, since I have my phone by me now, I will show you what it looks like. Okay, so there is the fuel pump, and it is, you can see up top right there, there's a bunch of crap stuck to it. That was kind of my first clue that it was the actual fuel pump and not the fuel filter again. So what we're gonna do is take all that crap off and remove the pump and put the new one in. Oh, I'm really glad that I bought those whenever I had to do the other fuel pump to take off the clamps. They're these funky looking clamps. A lot of people call them bow clamps because they look like a little bow. But you can't remove them and use them again. You can't unscrew them like normal clamps. You have to actually cut them and replace them completely. So knowing that now, I did not know that these were on there. I should have guessed, but I will probably have to end up going to Advanced and getting, did I hurt my nail? I thought I broke my nail. I'll have to end up going to Advanced and getting some more clamps. I need to get some for the fuel filter anyways, and it's not that big of a deal. So I'm gonna cut these off right now. This is super hard to access. It's a really tight squeeze, so I'm just gonna kind of try my best and keep you guys up to date as I go. Okay, so I am at a stuck point. Here's my issue. These bolts, the bottom left, there's one over on the right side. They are stuck. They are not coming off. I have tried everything, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to get this thing off without removing those. If it's anything like this bolt right here, I don't even know what the purpose of that was, but that thing, this top part, isn't even connected. When you turn it, a thicker piece of this right here does meet that, so I could see how that would keep it in place, but I'm thinking that's the same idea with these things over here. What I ended up doing, and I'm gonna try and do, is so bottom a little bit over right from that bolt or the nut, that kind of hooked under. So what I plan on doing is releasing that hook, making it as straight as possible, and just pushing it up and getting it out of place. So that's what we're gonna try. I know that was kind of confusing and didn't make sense, but this thing I know for a fact hasn't been removed in 30 years, and this just kind of proves my point right here. So we're gonna try that. Holy cow. That took so long to actually get out. Obviously the last clip didn't seem that far ago, but my God, that, I had to go to Ace Hardware first off. Okay, so here was the issue. The fuel pump's off. The whole bracket's off like it's supposed to be. It was sitting up like, let's see, like this. So it was sitting up like this. Okay, so it was like this on the car. Ideally what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to undo this nut and bolt that was under here, under a different bracket that was on the car. This nut and bolt that was under this part right here, and then a nut and bolt same side that was under right here. However, like I had predicted, this has not been changed since the car was made. So the nut and bolt, the bolt that screwed this thing onto the car was completely seized and it was stripped. Someone may have already changed this out and then just stripped the bolts that were on there, but they were not coming off. You have about this much room to work with inside of there. So there was no getting any kind of Dremel in there. Plus with it being that close to gasoline, hold on, FedEx. Jeez, that was a little Toyota truck. That was super loud. So with having such little space to work with, there was no getting a Dremel in there. And I didn't really want a Dremel in here because we're literally right next to gas. So I didn't want to spark something that was just something I wasn't willing to do. So after trying and trying and trying to get the bolts off, they weren't coming off, and I realized they weren't. So what I ended up doing was I thought, okay, so these little cushion things that go in between the bracket that's on the car and the bracket that's on the fuel pump, I can cut those off because this one was already cut. It was either cut or somebody had twisted it, because when I was trying to undo the bolt that was actually accessible, it just kept twisting. I may have to buy a whole new bracket. I just really don't give a crap because it was not coming off unless I was to cut this. So what I did was I went to Ace Hardware. Like I said, I had about that much room to work with. There was no way I was gonna get a hacksaw up there, nothing. So I bought this. This is actually for tile and linoleum. And I thought, okay, well, one, I have an angle, which is good. I need every angle I can get because I literally just have this way to work with or this way. So what I did was I sawed these little rubber parts off. And since this one was already disconnected, and I took it off that way, this bolt right here is gonna be stripped and seized as well. Just by looking at it, it already looks like it's kind of stripped. Oh, it's horrible. And yeah, we're gonna work on getting this thing off and out. I will finish it another day if I can't get this off. So that's what I'm gonna work on right now. All right, so here's what we're looking at right now. This is the bracket that came off of the bracket that is welded into the car. I believe it's welded. This is the old fuel pump that I will need to take off. This is how it's set. So let me see. This went like this on there, this clamped from behind, and this guy is what was stuck on there. My dad ended up getting it off for me. He used some kind of electric saw. So now my next step would be to take this off and then put the new fuel filter or new fuel pump in there. And then I'm gonna try my best to clean all this off. I am gonna be reusing it. And this stuff to keep, you know, the vibrations and the sounds of metal hitting metal while I'm driving to a minimum. This honestly, whenever I do put it back on, it should sit exactly where I sawed it. Alright, so today's the day I'm gonna try and get this crap done. I got the old fuel pump out and off of the bracket. I replaced it with the new one. I had to replace the nut and bolt because that's what my dad had to cut through to get this off. So I'm gonna go outside here in a little bit and tighten that as much as I can. I put the old line on right here because it was in good condition. Actually, great condition. No tears or anything. And then I put the clamp where it's supposed to be. Look how nasty that is. I was looking at this last night. It is horribly bent. I don't even see how anything got through that. It's just horrible shape. And that's kind of where I was having my leaking issues too. So I can imagine, you know, with that being the way it is, I don't know how. It seemed to me like it's, you know, fuel was backing up, clogging up, and then just coming right out. So this thing's donezo. But we're gonna put this in. I hope to God that this is not as complicated as getting it out. But we're gonna try, and if I don't wanna finish it, if I don't feel like finishing, I'm gonna stop. Here's the new setup. The car is now on the right side of the garage, or the left that I'm looking at, and then the F32 goes on this side. Reason being, and I really wish I would have thought to do this before I disconnected the battery and took the fuel pump out, was the side that I work on is this side right here, where the fuel pump's at. I was having to move my car and put it in the middle, then move it back. So last night, my mom and I moved this car from this spot to this spot. We were gonna plan on bumping it with the Yukon, but the Yukon has these two giant tow hooks that come out that we're gonna hit right where the black part of the bumper is, and she luckily saw that, and we were like, oh, okay, that's not a good idea. So we ended up pushing the whole thing, but I mean, it wasn't too hard. It was kind of hard. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I am all finished. I've gotten everything back in place. The bracket doesn't sit exactly how it did whenever I had to cut through the pads that kept the vibrations and stuff like that from happening, but I kind of knew that was gonna happen. What I ended up doing was I used a zip tie on the bottom portion of the bracket where it sits on the bracket that's mounted in the car, and I just zip tied that to keep it from moving back and forth. But the thing is pretty stable. I don't see how it would fall off the bracket, and if it did, then I mean, it's even with the hoses, it's still pretty secure, but obviously the bracket's there for security reasons and stuff like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to reconnect the battery, put fuse 11, I believe, back in, and I'm going to start the car and see if it works. I'm probably gonna take it off the jack stands, obviously, before I do that, because I don't want it to fall. Alright, so I just tried to start my car a little while ago. It takes a couple starts because the fuel has to go through all the lines again, but as soon as I kind of got it started, or tried starting it, gas was coming out from where the fuel filter was, of course. So that wasn't even the issue for this whole thing, but now that's happening. So what I ended up doing was, there was gas leaks right in here. So the last time I had, well, whenever I had changed my fuel filter, my intent was to change out these lines, which now I know I should have gone ahead and done that. There were little piercings just right in the middle of it. I'm really not sure what from, maybe age. So luckily I had this from the last time I was gonna actually do that. And all I had to do was take this off, measure it, cut it, and I went ahead and replaced all these, which that was hard to get off because that was original, connecting to that right there. But I went ahead and bought all new fuel injection clamps, because these were the kinds that were on there and those will pierce the hose. So I bought all new clamps. I just put them in. I'm gonna go ahead and secure this to the bracket above, and then I'm going to try and start the car again. All right, it is running. Sorry for the loud exhaust. It's running. There don't seem to be any leaks, so I think it's officially done. Oh my gosh, that was horrific. Pay somebody to do that if you ever have to do it.